I mean, college football, like I tell folks, is like Game of Thrones. It's very different than the pros in a lot of ways, but it's a lot of world building, and it's not fair. It's ugly. There's a lot of massacres, and a lot of houses try to rise up, and then they're just destroyed by the bigger houses, and sometimes those little houses surprise folks. But there is a wall in Alabama, a Georgia, or a Tennessee Volunteers that comes for them all. And the Tennessee Volunteers, as the best team in the country with the best resume in the country right now, they blow out the Kentucky Wildcats 44-9. No second half shenanigans that those dogs in Jacksonville dealt with. Just a scary scene in Jacksonville for Georgia fans, as they all took Twitter.com very, very nervous about the second half comeback from the Gators. And I was nice and cozy under my blanket watching touchdown after touchdown and Danico Slaughter laying the wood. And, we just, it was a pleasant, spooky evening, as all of Twitter is just all in on the Vols, the pageantry, the fireworks, the looks, the uniforms, everything's coming up Tennessee orange. It's what a
Oh,
time to be
man.
alive, Matt Green. We have the basketball team trolling the Kentucky fan base over when they got their rings. Tennessee saved the ring ceremony, the SEC title ring ceremony, for this game, just for the basketball team to be able to like wave and troll the Kentucky fans who made the trip to Neyland, because people forget Rick Barnes owns John Calipari. Matt Green, I think we have to start with the Vols, 44-6, and it's so funny that we take it for granted because it was a quiet 44 points. That's where Tennessee is at. Like, their points per game went down like a little under a point for this performance this week. They were over 50 last week, and I think they were like 49 point something, but still number one in the country. And they stumbled into it. There was a moment where Heupel had to punt deep in Kentucky territory and took a delay game they didn't want to do. They missed a field goal badly, and Chase McGrath. Again, like I tell folks, it's unbelievable that he hit that one against Alabama. That's just based on what we've seen, the full body of work, that continues to amaze me to this day, that thing sailed through the knuckleball, sailed through the uprights. But Tennessee kind of sleptwalk on offense. Cedric Tillman was back for this one. He was not himself, obviously, not really going deep. It wasn't that kind of game for him. Brew McCoy, he's like the most quiet receiver, where he'll just have 8 catches for 97 yards or 9 catches for 130, and it doesn't feel like it in the stat sheet. But they didn't run the ball particularly well. Jalen Wright averaged 10 yards to carry, but he didn't have nearly as many carries as Jabari Small, who didn't really break anything. Hendon Hooker didn't really have any big runs. It was just Jalen Hyatt. It was still Jalen Hyatt who broke Tennessee's scoring record with, 15 now, I think, touchdowns in the year. He was unguardable again, and just nobody has an answer for Jalen Hyatt out wide. When he's lined up behind Cedric Tillman in those slot positions. And he's a really, really hard player to cover. And the safeties got lost a couple times against in the Kentucky game, and it cost them dearly. But Dejon Terry was awesome, defensive line. And this was one of those interesting games for me, because this is the one what makes you believe a little bit more about Georgia, is the defense coming to play. And we have not seen that kind of defense from Tennessee all season long. And to keep, I understand Kentucky's offensive line's not great, but they really tormented Will Levis. Like, Will Levis was a turnover machine, making bad decisions. Like, the pressure was on. Like, Tennessee, Byron Young had a sack and a half. Guys were getting home. And that was the best defensive performance of the season for Tennessee. And I think that was more of the story, where I think if the offense plays at their normal pace and what they are normally able to do, they put up 60 at 70 maybe. Like, this was not a great offensive performance from Tennessee, and they still dropped 44, and it was just without breaking a sweat. But I said on the pod that I saw this game going the same way as the LSU game, and that was basically the case. But the offense was much better in the LSU game. It was more of the defense in this one, which came to play, and they're growing in confidence week over week. What did you make of it, Matt Green?
Yeah, I think I agree in terms of I think the defense was the most impressive performance about this game to me for Tennessee. Obviously, the offense still put up 44 points, but it was Kentucky's just inability to do anything offensively, because I felt like in the first half, Kentucky really hung right there with Tennessee. The turning point was really that interception in the red zone that they returned out to like midfield or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a 7 points that Kentucky's got to put on the board, down 20-6 to stay in the game. And then when Tennessee was just able to steal 7 points right before the half, that blown coverage to make it 28-6, 27-6 going to the half, then it just felt like that's game over. Like this, but to have them 20 points, basically going into the half, like 30 seconds left in the half, like that's a quality 2 quarters. If you're Kentucky, you can think you can muster up more than 6 points against what's been a questionable defense most of the season. So Will Levis is just, how long are we going to keep doing this? He's not that guy. Like he was under a lot of pressure in this one, but he's not this first round pick that everyone makes him out to be. It's like, I think we talked about this before the season. Like, the media, the pro scouts and everything are going to make us sound like Will Levis haters. He's just not that guy. He's a solid player, but he's not this first round pick. So it's turning a bunch of people into just end up hating on Will Levis, but it's just unfair, I feel like, expectations kind of put on him. But this holding this Kentucky team, like basically the exact formula Kentucky needed to win this game was the opposite of what happened in this game. Like even Tennessee had a 15 play drive where they took 5-6 minutes of the clock. Like Kentucky, I think almost like 35 carries or so, averaging 3 yards a carry. Like they just didn't really do it. And they have to stay committed to the running game because that is their offense. And Will Levis with 3 picks, it's just, they really couldn't get anything going the last 2.5 quarters of this game.
That's fair. And
98 passing yards. Like, what is that?
Here's my thing, and the real football stuff did not help. Just rat poison for Tennessee this week when you're calling it real football. It's like, no, this is real football. And this is what I've been saying for weeks. When you hear teams and they're like, we don't need to score 50. We're going to, like, when you saw the matchup, it was like, will Tennessee keep their 35 points or more streak alive, or will Kentucky keep their 24 under? It's like, we know the answer to this question. The game plan to beat Tennessee is not like Alabama's top 6 in scoring defense right now. I don't know if people are looking at it. They're giving a point 19 a game. Like they dropped 52. You're going to have to put up points. Like there's no path to you beating the Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt and this offense without putting up a bunch of points. Like punting is not an option. Like you cannot have possessions where
Kentucky did get some stops in this one though.
They did. Like Kentucky, it's a weird game because Kentucky did not play awful. The score was awful. It was more Levis. It was more the offensive line. Chris Rodriguez going out in the second half really hurt them too. But I mean, you missed the extra point. They had a bad drop early in this one that could have kept their drive going. But I mean, certain things, just bad luck where the Danico Slaughter hit and then an interception because he just hit him so hard the ball bounces up and Juwan Mitchell takes it back. Like those are just game shifting plays. But it goes back to the broader point, which is like Kentucky wanted to dictate how they wanted to go. That first drive for them that scored, and they thought they were going to play like that. And it's just, that is not how you're going to beat Tennessee. Like this is a preview for Georgia this week. Like anyone who thinks Georgia's defense is keeping Tennessee under 35, like it's going to be like last year's Georgia-Tennessee game, you're just wrong. Like that's not how it's going to go. And I think if you even ask Kirby to this point, he would tell you like, yeah, we're going to have to score 49. Like we're going to have to score 45. Like he's not going to be breathing comfortably or feeling okay if he's looking at the scoreboard and we're at the top of the fourth quarter and it's like Georgia's got 28 points. Doesn't matter. Like you just don't want to be in that spot if you're the Dogs or anybody against this offense. And I think that is the thing to watch is Tennessee dictates the style of play each week, and there's no stopping it. Hendon Hooker is the Heisman favorite. Jalen Hyatt is absolutely bonkers. They're doing all this without a healthy Cedric Tillman. There's just so many ways for them to slice and dice you. Jalen Wright has the best after contact ability of any running back I've seen in years. I cannot wait to see him continue to get better and better because he had some absolutely bonkers runs where he was able to stay on his feet in this one. There's a reason he was on the freaks list by Bruce Feldman this offseason in The Athletic. He's a star in the making. It's just, you're going to have to put up a lot of points. And this idea that Kentucky was going to dictate tempo and like people worrying about time of possession does not matter. If you're keeping track of, the Dogs are keeping Tennessee off the field for a lot of this game, great. Doesn't matter. That's not how you beat them.
Time of possession most certainly matters.
No.
Kentucky just doesn't have a good offense.
No, Tennessee had the ball for, 22 minutes against Alabama and scored 52 points?
But I'm saying it doesn't not matter. If you're a team, I
think Tennessee, it doesn't matter. I think they're one of the few that doesn't matter.
But I'm saying that's one of the only ways you can combat a team that scores quickly like that. Like Kentucky just wasn't able to execute what we'd said their game plan had to be, which is run the ball and play good defense, get some stops, and keep the ball out of their hands.
But that's not what I said. I said they have to feed Berry and Brown. I said they have to go deep. They have to feed Brown, Key. But
deep. That's not realistic. Kentucky isn't going to be able to get into a shootout and stop and be able to compete with Tennessee. Like they essentially have to play their style. And I feel like someone like Georgia, who you've seen run the ball better as far as this season, obviously he's made explosive plays in the pass game as well, scored a lot of points offensively, but I feel like running the ball and keeping Hendon Hooker's offense off of the field, I feel like it's one of the only ways you can beat this team. I mean, their offense is that good.
I would say you want them on the field. I think if you want to see Tennessee being like a struggling Tennessee team, they've been on the field too long. Like if their drives are going and they're not getting any big plays, if their time possession's high, that means they have not had the big scores. That means they have not.
But even better, if they're having to drive for 6-7 minutes on you and you're driving 6-7 minutes on them,
that's what you want to do.
That's an entire quarter of 2 possessions. That's what I'm saying. So I think the only way to beat a team like Tennessee is to try to keep the offense off the field. I mean,
keep Tennessee's offense on the field.
Just keep play. I mean, you have to limit the big plays because that's what they've done to everybody. Just the 50-yard gashes. I mean, I don't know how long the one to Hyatt was right there before the half, but like just 2 huge plays. I mean, I think Kentucky pretty much played a good defensive first half, and you give up 2 50-yard touchdowns, and now you've given up 27 points just like that.
Tennessee's number 1 in 40-plus yard pass plays this season. They have 19 plays of 40-plus yards. They have 10 plays of 50-plus yards. The next closest is Memphis at 13. Like it's just a different animal. Tennessee is an outlier in a lot of ways, and I'm trying to find where Georgia is on this because I feel like I haven't seen a big Georgia pass play through the hour outside of like Bowers. Where is Georgia on this list? How far down? What would you guess? Oh my goodness. Okay, what would you guess? Where would you guess Georgia is on 40-plus yard passing plays?
Oh, probably not very high. I can think of, only a few Bowers plays off the top of my head.
2. They're 118th in the country in 40-yard passing plays. Do you know what that speaks to? And this is something I've said. Is A.D. Mitchell, are we sure he exists? Are we sure?
Well, he's been hurt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is he ever coming back? What is Kearis Jackson going to be? Everything comes down to Washington and Bowers, who are unbelievable in their own right. But I don't know, man. A lot of Ladd McConkey expectations going into Saturday.
And Ladd McConkey, since that Kent State game where he just played like the worst game of his career,
been good.
Like he hasn't been like what he was. He doesn't seem to be what as explosive an athlete as he was the year before. And I think there was even a punt return that he wasn't on, if I'm not mistaken, this past week. But the one thing I think that gets overlooked, as long as Georgia would use him this way, is I've heard a lot about Georgia doesn't have a number 1 receiver. Like they can't win because they don't have a number 1 receiver.
Hold on, let's move to let's hold this. Let's move to Georgia and Florida.